All right, and we're live. Um, just myself. Hello, ate şey Richard DeCrane in chat. Ketlecini başıçin gagi dinen inçle. Aşin daşı çey gagi ne daşındalı. Kuteye deneye inçle. Maro ya lay say yara yesin aşağı. Kuteye deneye inçle. Hello everybody in the Facebook land, Facebook world. Going live today. I'm excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking about talking circles, our native talking circles to be specific. What did we talk about last week? Last week we talked, finished up the conversation about um, contemporary powwows and kind of origin stories of some of the dances. There's a lot to, still a lot to learn. I could cover, keep on going and cover it probably all the whole year, and get really into detail. But yeah, but anyway, we had a request, a few requests from a few people, what topics we could talk about. This was one of them, talking circles, the importance of talking circles, and kind of wondering where they came from, and who developed them, and things like that. Um, just thinking about talking circles in general. I think thinking about what we talked about these past couple of weeks about powwows and the gatherings, what they meant, their origins and stuff. Like I know the powwow originally for my tribe, what it meant, was the warriors would return home, and they would have these, you know, celebrations they called them, but also the warriors would return home, and when those warriors return home, they experience stuff when they're away from home, and some of those things weren't so good at times. Whether it was experiencing war, or other traumas. But they would come home and they would have this celebration, but they would have the opportunity to share what they witness, and if it was effective to them, being able to talk about it and express themselves through dance or a song, was really effective in that it helped promote healing for the individual. The warrior that would return home would be able to was given the opportunity to heal himself, by talking about and sharing his story. And so that's a talking circle in itself. The powwow, the way it's set up, the arena, most arenas and including most ceremonies are set up in a circular fashion, and usually they're facing the east, um, which is always significant. And there's places in that circle that certain people that sit, if we're even at the powwow, we'll talk about that, because when you walk in from the east, that's the opening, and then across is usually where the MC will sit, and then the arena director, and then anybody else that is facilitating that event, or celebration, powwow, get together, and then all the people would sit around. And so that was a form of a talking circle. We talked about the powwow having that effect of healing that person, and so that's one talking circle I can talk about, that we kind of experience here, nowadays in contemporary times, that there's powwows that happen all over Southern California, and a lot of times, like I said, they keep to those protocols of having that the doorway facing the east, and that's where people will come in and enter from. And I can think about many different ceremonies which are just the same. Right now, I think a lot of people are going through what's called the Sundance. My people, the Crow people, and my family have been a part of that, since time immemorial. And the way we set up, the big lodge is the same way. The opening is to the east, and so we can greet the day once we do what I do, and then inside that, that circle itself, people are praying, and also doing self care for themselves, and also there's prayer men, or people that are taking care of the prayers, taking care of the things that are important for healing of the people, healing of the soul. Um, as indigenous people, we always believed in that. That circle in itself, has been very healing to people in communicating, and expressing our our traumas, and then facing them, and then talking about it, and having discussion, and then healing ceremony goes on. And within that that circle, there's some elements that are in there. You got fire, you got the fire. Usually you'll have water. You might have other medicines, from like cedar to sage to sweet pine to all different kind of medicines that they have in there to help with that healing, that ceremony. And same way for the powwow, they burn sweetgrass during the powwows. They'll burn sage. Around here we burn the white coastal sage to cleanse the area. A lot of like that. So it's very sacred, very ceremonial. Like I said, even the Sundance is the same way. In that way we have a circle of healing. And so that's what we talk about when we talk about indigenous ways of healing. I can talk about my Navajo side too. We have another ceremonial house, or it's considered a house and a ceremonial place. Our hogans. It's a round circular um, home that looks like it, and it's octagon shape usually, or round. In older times they used to be a little bit shaped a little bit different. They had female, ceremonial places, and male ceremonial places, specific for them. And all those openings would be facing the east. If you ever get a chance to go out to Indian country, almost a lot of the reservations, including if you go to Navajo Nation, you can see it. All the houses are usually faced to the east, just like how the ceremonial circle, the hogan, is faced to the east. Also, inside that hogan, healing takes place. There's a prayer man or prayer person in there, and then the person that needs healing is also in there, and the family members will sit around that circle and support. In that same setting, we have a lot of the elements. The earth. We have the fire. We have water, and then some of the plants, and and then sometimes we even have like some of the animals. Animals that will help us in healing. So all these different elements will come to play and come together and help. The what nowadays we know as self care or self awareness, and as Indian people have been doing this for forever, since time memorial. And just think about this cup in itself. This sacred the circle of the medicine wheel that the Lakota people, have shared with all of us, and then we learn and we know, the meanings of some of these different colors, and they have specific meanings to different people nowadays, and people use them, in their healing circles. And so, talking circles and healing circles have been around for generations. And so, I know bringing us back into more contemporary times here. Um, in San Diego, contemporary times, speaking about, the powwows, that's a form of healing for our people, our culture. It's a cultivation of culture for the people in a public setting. That's very. Some people, find it very ceremonial. Some people, just go and check it out, and that was always good feelings because the drum circle, where the drummers or the singers, I like to refer to the singers as the drummers or the singers. Or the drum group, sitting around that circle, and usually we share that space with the big drum. We consider the big drum our grandfather, and so there's a song, that's composed for the grandfather himself, and there's songs that are composed for other people that are sitting around that drum, including the drum keeper and the lead singer and everyone that sits around that drum. When we sing our songs, they're healing in that, we use our voices and the drum of the bass to send out positive vibes, positive feelings to the people. And that's why it's always important to have, like when we have these big events like that, to always have it drug free, especially if you're sitting around in that circle, ceremonial circle setting. It's always important to have a clear mind, clear setting. And so healing can take place, healing can happen, and communicate. Like I said, thinking about the powwow, the warriors would tell their story through dance. They would tell of a battle that happened to them. It was traumatic, but they survived and they came back, and they're grateful. And a lot of times they do things, that um, the give back, that circle in itself I always taught was always reciprocal, where it's a give and take. That's what reciprocal kind of means, where you give to it and then you take back and you help each other, and in that way we help heal each other and take care of one another as a people, as a community. And talking circles, I know we here at the Indian Health, Margie and Rob and a few people have talking circles that are for the well-variety program that happens here. White Bison, um, and that part, have adopted that way of using the circle to communicate with people, to help, with well variety, help, be drug free and have a place to sit, because the power of that circle, when you use that, I use that a lot when I do a lot of facilitating some of the things that I do, for healing and stuff. Even my bead classes, I use that everybody's sitting in a circle so we can communicate and I can see what people are doing, and it's really effective. To do it that way versus doing it the Western way. If you ever have to, like, if you're teaching a class and you're standing in front, and it's usually like the person, how we learn at school nowadays, is someone standing in front and all the kids are in rows and they're facing this way and you're in front and you're just kind of talking to them. But in the circle, teaching in the circle, you're communicating. You actually can go one on one with the individual. There's nothing in between you. Like desks are in between when they're teaching in the Western world. But when we teach in that circle ceremony, when there's just chairs and people, and the person that's talking is in front of you, there's nothing that blocks the communication, at all. You can eye to eye. You can look face to face. You can communicate, and that's the power of our talking circles, and they've been working for quite some time. The things that, like, even like what I call the Gona. We're going to be having a Gona, or Gathering of Native Americans, soon. In its form, when we do it, we have quite a few different talking circles. Scooting back a little bit so you can see the shirt. This is a little talking circle we did last year for young Native men, which is really good, really effective, to have a place for young kids, young Native men or young Native women, to be able to communicate and tell things that, to people, a group of people that, are like-minded and, are good, and to be able to share, even everyday thoughts, can be very healing to a person. Very effective, so that's why you see the well variety program using that type of framework, which comes from Native people. The Gona itself comes from Native people also, and you use that, teaching that technique to help us heal in multi-generational trauma and PTSD from war veterans. We have that a few veterans groups will also use that style of talking to people, communicating and healing. I know, talking about the Gona, that's one thing that's really important. Part of the Gona, or the Gathering Native Americans healing process, is to be able to communicate with the people, one on one. I'm just thinking about things that, like ceremonial settings. I know that same thing happens. I know the first time we ever had the Gathering Native Americans, the Gona, we had it up on the reservation, east. I guess it's east of San Diego, at the campgrounds, the La Jolla Indian Campground, and it was a beautiful place. I know we had been looking for a spot, and then we got that spot, and then we were able to pay for it and reserve it. But then a few things happened, and and for some reason we lost that spot we had originally went to go see and pick out, and somehow something happened, and then some people there, we were concerned for our little program, and actually we end up not even have to pay for our spot that we had originally were, but we were put in this other place, which was even better, closer to the stream and the area. Come to find out years later from a few of the local natives in that area. That's that where they put us was very sacred, very powerful place. Things would happen. I know we had talked about many different things that were gonna take place at our gathering or Gona. We wanted to have sweats. We wanted to have you know like TP set up for like Native American church, a little bit of Native American church service. Then we wanted other things like that, and things had their own way of thinking and change, and so we just had to go with it. But in the end, it turned out really beautiful and really nice, and it turned out a great healing time for the people. But in that, in the circles, when we used to talk, it will also be around campfires. I know a lot of campfires. When we tell a lot of stories around the campfires. For me growing up, that was some place that I was able to share with my family and my relatives. My grandma and my grandpa. That's they when we sat around the campfire, whether we were cooking or making s'mores or something like that. I know my grandfather always took advantage to it was a teaching moment, and he would tell us different stories of things that happen. And I think I've touched on this before about the powers of storytelling, how it plays a role in our healing process as an individual, as a person. Tell the stories, whether they be bad or good, so that we can all learn and move ahead and learn from what has happened. Right now, we're on the healing path right now as far as the COVID is concerned. I know tomorrow, or yeah, actually tomorrow, me and my family, we're going to get the second shot. I'm a little nervous about it. I hear a lot of people and relatives that have bad effects, but I know it's not all bad effects. I know it's just certain people that have that kind of effects, and I'm a little worried about it. I think everybody is concerned about a lot, because a lot of people sometimes they'll just post the negative stuff, and you never hear about the good stuff. People that are didn't affected at all. Um, but I believe we'll be okay. So say prayers for all the people. Even I know a few friends that are having their second shot. They nothing happened. They were just fine. Even my own mom and my parents, and my brothers. I mean, they had the second shot and nothing happened to them. And so, in saying that, tomorrow, actually, I'm going to go down to the clinic, and my family, we're going to get the second shot. So that's something to look forward to. But we're still not quite done. We're not still at what they call herd immunity, where I think it's over 75% of people. I'm not an expert, nothing. I'm just, this is just stuff I'd heard on public radio. Hey, just kidding. Stuff I heard, from meetings that I've gone to, and also, public radio also has good information, and it's things that I've read and I've tuned into. I don't get my information from just one place. It's quite a few different places. But and you can find out your own information. I'm not here to talk about all that, but at the same time, it's good for us to, all of us, to get that vaccination so we can get things back to where we liked them originally. They were, where we're celebrating with our friends and families at big gatherings, or having, Gonas in person. Like I said, when we had that first Gona up in the mountain, it was really impactful for, the young kids that were there and families that were there. And we really had a good time. It was a great experience. We were able to use that, the talking circles to communicate with the kids. And, we had a campfire there, I remember, with the little kids, and that's where we had our things, and we talked about different issues and things that we use, and we even did a few little ceremonies. We used a rock, because there was also a rock or a stream that was right next to where we were at. And so the kids really had fun in the stream. Then we had campfires, and we were able to talk and use the fire itself for other ceremonial purposes, which was intended for, and talk about certain stories that only can come out during those times. Sometimes I think of stories, and I can't think of exactly how it goes until I get into the setting or that area, or whenever the time is right. Then that somehow that story comes to me, and I'm able to tell it and speak it. Just something that I always have thought about. And I know my grandparents used to tell me things like that when we used to sit in circles, not only around the campfire, but in the Native American church circle, um, our traditional Navajo circles, and other gatherings that we used to go to. They used to tell or share stories, of knowledge of things that happen, using animals, using the creatures that are around us, plants and stuff, and they would share stories, and we would ask what we learned from. But um, I remember quite a few times my grandparents would say, you'll hear these stories, and right now you probably won't know what it truly means until later on in life. As you live life, you tend to experience stuff, and then a while back you're gonna think about it, and then you're like, oh, that's what that person was talking about, or oh, that's what that story means, or why this thing happened. That's what happens, and so. And you get those stories, not right in that moment. Like I said, my grandparents would tell me that you might not get what it means right now, but later on in life you will. And just pay attention and listen to what's happening, what's going on here, with the ceremony, with what people are telling you, and you'll learn. And that moment will be shared with you when you need it the most, or when it needs to happen. Will happen. So just thinking about stories like that, reminiscing about my grandparents, and the power of the talking circles. And now here, I know the Well Brighty's not the only talking circle we have here at the Indian Health. We also have a what we call the VGR, right, Thomas? I know my son attends that, and a few young kids. I'll have to look at the schedule. Um, Thomas, can you give me that schedule when the next VGR is? And this is a kit for young kids. What's the age category? I think it's for young kids. Last week was the first one on the 15th, and this week it's usually on Thursday. Next week will be the VGRR. Yeah, Virtual Generation Red Road Talking Circle, and I believe this is facilitated by usually Margie and Francis, right? And so they facilitate that, and so the kids get to do things, do projects, and work and talk, and have someone beside their parents to be able to express themselves, or to talk, or to share things going on in life. And so it's a very powerful thing that you can tune into and take advantage of, that we have here at the Indian Health Center. And it gives an opportunity for the kids to get to, because sometimes that's really healing, just to be able to talk to someone, to like I've been saying since this pandemic, is call someone that maybe you haven't talked to in a while. Call that relative, that elder. And I know a lot of people sometimes just call me out of the blue, and start talking to them, and they have a lot to say and a lot to speak in that way. It's very healing to just listen, and also it's healing to be able to be heard, and we haven't had that in a while, with one another, as far as communicating together. But slowly, I know last week I was able to meet with my good friend Ben. He came over to my wood shop. My wood shop is kind of a sacred place for me. It's where I do a lot of healing as I work on the wood projects. And we came and we talked, and we had a good time, just conversating, talking about things, some projects that we're going to be doing very soon. I know there was talks about other things for programming that we're going to do here on our live segments. I think I was talking about next week, where we're talking about feathers again, the significance of feathers, what we use them for, and how to keep it alive, keep that spirit alive. Because sometimes we have feathers, and we're given stuff, and then we just kind of put it away, and it's just put away. And feathers are one of those things that you need to take care of it. You need to pass it on, either use it, or you need to pass it on and take care of it, just like it took care of you. And never neglect those things, like your medicine, like your eagle feathers, things that are spiritual. And I was always told they have, they have their own life, they have their own spirit, and if you don't take care of things like that, or like our medicines, sometimes I'll come to places, and then sometimes sage or cedar will be on the ground. I always taught that they shouldn't be just dropped on the ground. They should be picked up, and that they shouldn't be walked over. If you ever see tobacco or something on the ground, you don't just walk over it. You pick it up and take care of it. And at the same time, things that need to be taken care of, such as that, as your feathers, as your medicine bags, as your medicines in itself. There's, they all have spirits, and we're gonna kind of talk about that. Do another dive into working with eagle feathers, and taking care of them, and giving them new life, whatever that means. So you guys can tune into that. So I'm excited about that. I was talking to an local elder here, Ben Nats, about that, and then we wanted to bring that to you guys and share. Hopefully, in a video format, I'm gonna have to work on how we're gonna do that, and put it together. But for now, like I said, just talking to someone, again, we're able to do that since we got, our shots, and we're getting closer to being fully vaccinated, even though we're not quite yet to herd immunity, which is, most people being vaccinated. I think next step, I know 18-year-olds are going to be next, 18-year-old up. But for me and my little family, we're still going to stay on lockdown, stay safe, because my son is still too young. He hasn't got his vaccination, and I would never want, to bring something home just because I wanted to go hang out or do something at a power or something, and then come home and bring it back to my son. It could be very hurtful and harmful, to the families. And so I won't be, going around to too many places. I'll still go out and just go to the grocery store and back until, hopefully, my son he's getting to the age where he'll be able to get the vaccine, hopefully sooner than later, so we can, get back to life, and not worried about, getting sick and stuff. But anyway, talking circles is something, a subject that was brought up a while back, importance of what it is, and like I said, communicating with one another, individually, without no barriers, is very powerful in that setting. When you set up in a circle and someone is communicating something to you, it's very one-on-one, very eye to eye. Usually when I talk in talking circles, I'll sit down. I won't be standing up unless I have something to say or something that I need to stand up for some reason. But usually I'll be sitting down, and together we're eye level, and we're talking about things, just like around the campfire. And that's where I kind of figure out and kind of learned the importance of talking in a circle, and how powerful it is, versus even when I learn things, like when I'm sitting around. I'm gonna close this window a little. My little neighbors are done with school. They're running around. Pretty soon you'll see them. They'll be headed to the pool, and it's gonna be a loud party at the pool, in my little community. So I think people are starting to feel better going to the pool and stuff. I think we just opened up the pool again for a whole, I think, almost a year that was been closed, and it's getting warm nowadays here in San Diego. I think we're at 72 degrees. It's still a little warm. Yeah, so if you guys want to participate that in whether that talking circle that's part of Variety, or the youth talking circles, we're having that for the youth, for the kids. Like I said, it's important for young people to express themselves, to have a place to share a little bit. That's besides the parents. Sometimes I know families that the parents are not there, maybe they're off at work or really busy, and they don't get a chance to communicate with the kids. Sometimes it's easier to communicate to a stranger, or to someone, like I said, that's like-minded, that's thinking in a good way, and you can express yourself and tell them, and someone that actually has their ear open to listen, and then respond, and then tell how they feel about it, or you feel about it. And it's really effective as far as self-care, and taking care of ourselves, and taking care of our spirit, thinking from a holistic approach, that's what it's about, healing of our people. And like I said, talking circles have been around for multi generations, past from us, and use it. And it's a tool that's been passed on to us and that we can use. It doesn't require anything but our attention, us talking, and also to re-humble ourselves, to heal. So you have that for the youth, that you can participate and take care of that, and good. And so we have other programming that we have here. Art class with Larry, Monday. Glad Larry's back, teaching the kids. I know Thomas was really excited. 3 to 4. So you get another chance on Monday. If you haven't seen this paper or don't have the schedule, yeah, check out. We'll probably put it in the link, and check that out. We have a whole busy week, from art class to Cooking Matters, which if you tuned in just today, we saw Cooking Matters with Carolina, then me on Facebook, and then usually Soaring Eagles. It's not this week, but at Soaring Eagles dance class is going to be next week, next Monday or next Tuesday. I think tomorrow is going to be the Friday night live Zoom from 4 to 5. So check that out tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday, Let's Get Crafty Zoom with Carolina and Francis. I'm not sure what the project is. I got to go down maybe today or tomorrow. Oh, actually, tomorrow when I get my shot, to pick up the projects. So the kids, always have stuff to do, projects, and it's really good. I know Thomas really enjoys doing some of the projects and doing all the things. I know he really enjoyed the art class with Larry. Now he's been watching nonstop other artists on on the YouTube, and he's been using his paint, his color pencils and pencils that the Youth Center was able to give to him, and that he's been able to use. And he bought even more, so he has even more pencils and more paper that he bought on his own. So it's really exciting. So if you want, all these good programs for the kids, for healing, to help, help the kids, in all different ways, hopefully you guys can, take advantage of that. But yeah, so that's pretty much my talk. Talking circles are very important. Like always, in the description, and I'm not sure if anybody tuned in. Like, I don't know, the the comment section is blank, so maybe everybody's tuned out, or tuned in, tuned out, or something's going on with Facebook. But anyway, if you want to have comment and discussion, talk about it, this is going to be posted again to the YouTube. So if you missed my talks, whether they were talking about the powwow or other things that I've talked about, you can tune into the Facebook page or to the YouTube page and check out all of our different content that we have as far as native healing and the Indian health services, the Indian San Diego Indian Health. Yeah, so like I said, I've always said, our native culture is prevention for a lot of things, from drugs, to alcohol, to suicide. It's prevention. It's you know, sharing of our culture, so it lives on. Like I said last week, I also talked about young kids, the tiny tots. We really are really important, because that tells us as older people, older folks, as elders, that our young people are gonna take on what we taught them, and be able to pass it on to the next generation, which is very important. Thinking that 7 generations ahead is always very important. Whatever you do, planning life, planning a big event, thinking that way, a traditional way of thinking 7 generations ahead, is very important. And like I said, VGRR, which is the acronym for the Red Road approach, which stems from the Gona approach, which also is, talking circles, using culture as a way to communicate with the kids, and do that. So yeah, so I could keep on talking and just talking, but yeah, so that's all my talk for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any comments or anything you wanted to add to. Like I said, this is a discussion for the people to talk about, this subject, about talking circles, and culture is prevention. So you guys have a good day. Smudge, don't judge, as they say, and you guys have a good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is for you. I will see you next week. Um, yeah, later.